Hello, welcome back, Steve's Retirement Corner. Problems and mistakes, my first year of retirement. Man, I made a ton of mistakes, and I ran into quite a few daggone problems, but most of them amounted to nothing at all, not even worth being concerned over. A couple of them were, if I didn't tackle them, they could have turned into something worse. But I got on them. This is just a couple examples of them. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was I didn't take full advantage of the enjoyment of that first year of retirement. I didn't. Not that it wasn't great. Man, we had a good time that first year. We stayed busy. We stayed active. We did some things. But sitting here looking back, I see where if we would have done stuff a little different, that it could have been so much better. You know, that's about all it was. But to be honest with you, man, we were scared to death. I ain't never been without a job. I always had a part-time job or a knock-around job or something, plus my full-time job. But to not have either one of them going into retirement, it was unnerving. That's where last year really paid off for us. It gave us the confidence that going forward that, hey man, we was able to make out last year. We ought to be able to make out the rest of the time. 21 and 22, man, everybody I sought help from or advice to go over my numbers and everything. I kept getting green lights, but I didn't believe it. It's hard to believe when it comes time. But, so you just don't know till you get out there how you're going to do. You just don't. And I did better than I figured I would. But that's where I screwed up at too. That's where I made a mistake. I tried to force myself into retirement instead of letting it come to me. I was more concerned about nothing changing in our lifestyles and trying to keep it trying to force situations in that I was rushing it instead of slowing down and letting it come to me naturally. So that was another mistake. And another one was that I never thought about prioritizing what I did, not the first time, before or after I retired. It was something I never had to do before, really. I mean, you got an alarm going off telling you the autoclave's overheating, you know what to do. And that's where that video about floundering in retirement come from. I mischaracterize that as being lazy, which is my go-to whenever I don't accomplish something. I just say, well, I had a lazy moment or whatever. And most time it's wrong. What happened was I had a list of stuff I wanted to get to this past year, and I looked up down in the fall that, hey, none of it got done. And I just calculated it being lazy or spending too much time down at the river or just goofing off. And it wasn't. It was just that I didn't prioritize them things. Man, I always have a list of stuff. This time of year especially, I make a list that I never could accomplish for what I want to tackle this year. But, if they get done, they get done. If they don't, they don't. They're not a priority on my list. But you got to know how to prioritize when you're in retirement. I did anyways. A couple of mistakes a couple of problems I ran into. Now, they could have turned into big deals. Them problems, I mean, there's nothing I can do about them now, but I know better going forward, and I can handle it. I know what to do going forward. And so, hey, man, it worked out. But these problems were other people's doings. It caused me a little headache and could have been right disastrous for us. My pension. For some reason during the year, my pension quit paying taxes 2 or 3 times during the year. 3 times, I believe it was. And there's no easy way to solve it. You call them up, tell them what's going on. They can't fix it right there. You have to send in a form in order for them to fix it. But why they go the first 3 or 4 months, take out taxes just like they should, and then all of a sudden just quit, don't make no sense to me. And they can't understand it either. But first they stopped taking my daggone federal taxes out. So I called them, and they told me about that form, so had to get me a form. I sent that in. And then things went along okay, next 2 or 3 months. And then it quit taking out state. And so I knew the deal by then, so I filled that form out and sent it in. And it weren't 2 or 3 months later, everything was going fine, and all of a sudden it quit federal again. And I was worried about getting nailed this year because of them taking my taxes out. But I'm mandatory, I got to take out 20% out of my 401. So I figured I had the federal covered, but the state I was worried over. And I might still have to pay state because of that. They don't know why it happened. It just all of a sudden quit. But I had to get that fixed, otherwise I'd have owed my butt this year. But and then my health insurance. When I first retired, I thought my health insurance was going to come straight out my pension, but it doesn't. But we had the pension going in the bank, and so I have automatic draft for my health insurance every month. It takes it out, $700. But for some reason, one month they didn't take the whole amount out. So I called them up, and they said that they didn't know why. Everything was fine on their end as far as they could see where it had been taken out for months, and then all of a sudden it didn't take out the right amount. So I had to send in the difference. She told me as long as I had it postmarked by a certain date, I was all right. So I did. Only thing is, they hadn't had it received before then. And so the next month they didn't take any out at all. And I called them up, wanted to know why. And they said, I don't know. They had to put it in for as a case, and somebody in the back office has to figure this stuff out. And so I called them up again about a week or 2 later, and they said, listen, you got to send in. Well, first they told me, hey, just wait till the next month. It should straighten itself out. And it didn't. The next month come in, and then I owed for 2 months. And I called them up and talked to them, and they said that they can't take money out of your account if the previous month ain't fully paid. And by me sending in that one check postmarked right, but they didn't get it until later, that said that they hadn't had the previous month payment. So they couldn't pay the second month. And since I was waiting for them to get back to me on my second month, I had to pay for 2 months at one time, and I had to pay that one piece at one time. Now, I mean, they could have dropped me after that second month, but they didn't. So, I mean, a lot of stuff screwed up. But hey, man, it's all part of the matter. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And it's trial and error, man. But that's just a couple things, a couple problems I had. I mean, there's a lot more. If I sat down and thought about it, I could come up with a whole list, but it ain't worth it because most of them weren't about nothing. Well, it's sleeting here. I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to get back to the house before it gets too bad. They call for some snow. Not much. We ain't supposed to get but about that daggone much, which is about that daggone much too much for me. Y'all take care. Enjoy yourselves the best you can this week with the weather and everything. And we'll talk to y'all later.